war, of course, I used to race on the street with everybody else. After the war, when I come home, I got a little more mature. And I went to work for a police department here in Pomona, and we started a program on the police department to try to work with the car club. It was obvious that they had to have a place to try out. So we came out here one day and looked around, Chief Parker and myself, who was the chief at that time, and looked at this beautiful expanse of graveled parking lot not being used the major portion of the year, and talked to the very progressive people who were the head of the Los Angeles County Fairgrounds Board at that time, and was able to interest them in allowing us to lay down a strip of asphalt. We brought the people in and they sat in their cars and stood around, and the main thing was to give the young people a place to try their vehicles out, get them off the street, bring them out here on a weekend, and give them a trophy for running.
We've been producing and co-producing individual events at tracks as they were springing up around the country, but we'd never really tried to do anything on a major scale. So we decided that we had to expand on our past performance and experience, and had to put on a major race somewhere. Well, the Los Angeles County Fairground was sitting out there and was being operated by the Pomona Valley Timing Association. So we made a proposal to them that we would like to produce the first West Coast Championships and just see what would happen. We were overwhelmed by the number of spectators who turned out, because I think we had grandstands for about 200 people total, and we lined the cars down the side of the course, put hay bales out in front of them out there, and kept them back at a safe distance and ran the race. It was an experiment, but it did give us the confidence that we were in a position to start thinking about the development of something on a more national scale.
At that particular time, we had a terrific proliferation of classes. Santa Ana had their designation of classes, San Fernando had theirs, Pomona had theirs, Fontana had theirs, and it was a difficult thing to figure out what class you were going to run in wherever you were going to be.
Initially, when we were faced with the responsibility of developing competition rules and classes, we didn't have much to use as a guideline, because the other various forms of auto racing didn't fit the pattern of all the mixed bag of types of equipment that we were running. We borrowed quite a lot from our experience at the dry lakes. And at the dry lakes, why most of the classes were based on the weight of the car divided by the cubic inches of the engine. So we started out on that, but we found that the distribution of weight became very important. A lot of features fit into it, so we knew that we were going to have to develop our classes and then expand on them. I think the development of the classes was a very important part of the whole movement, because anyone who ran had to have the feeling that he had a reasonable chance of winning once in a while. The insurance program probably was the most valuable thing that ever happened to us, because it allowed us to say that you must do this, you must do that, you must comply with these standards in order to be eligible for insurance. And without the insurance, they couldn't run the race. It probably gave us our strongest start as far as expansion and growth of the sport's concerned of anything that's happened. And we found that there were a lot of available unused airport runways around the country, most of which belong to the government as former military sites, but none were accessible to us unless we could come up with reasonable limits of liability insurance. And initially, no insurance company wanted to even think about getting involved with something as wild as what we were suggesting. We were able to get one of the insurance companies from a major company to come up to our track up at Inyo, California in the desert and attend one race and see it. And his recommendation then opened the door for our getting our own insurance program with a major underwriter, and it went on from there.
In the April issue of the Hot Rod magazine 1951, why I read about Wally Parks starting the National Hot Rod Association, and it was several months after that, probably around August the 1st or so, that I sent him my $2 and became a member, and still a member today. In 1956, I did become a regional advisor for the National Hot Rod Association and started recruiting members and trying to build racetracks and that type of thing. And most of the time we went on our own nickel, done the work without any expense money or anything else. Well, it was just strictly voluntary help, and you just did it for the love of the sport is what made us all do it, and still doing it today, more or less.
Once we had the organization underway and the word had spread around the country and the enthusiasm was there, we had to expand the representation that we had in the field. So we began by selecting individuals and appointing them as regional advisors. And it was a no-salary job, people who were active with car clubs, and they'd be people who had their own cars and had built cars, not necessarily race cars, but cars that were specialized.
At one of the Southfield drag races over on the airport here is where I met Wally Parks. And out of that, he knew my interest, and I think he was looking for somebody in Ohio, and we had the clubs going and trying to get the timing association going. And the main thing we needed was help that Wally could give us as far as organization goes. And Wally and Barbara put together a tremendous book that gave us this assistance, and I still have mine here. I doubt if there's many of them in existence, but it went back to how to form a club, how to get the guys together, how to work with the public officials, how to do everything, and it was really the NHRA Drag Racers Bible at that time.
Back then, dedication was the thing. I think everybody at the time, besides having a love affair with the automobile, they had a love affair with Wally and Barbara for getting this thing cranked off. In fact, I wanted to go to work so bad for NHRA, I created my own job to get paid by NHRA. I created my own job in a auto supply place where they were paying me to do NHRA's work.
We started making selections from among the more outstanding representatives that we had out there, and started forming our division directors system. Along with the addition of permanent division directors in the early 1960s, we were fortunate to be able to bring Jack Hart into our organization, who eventually became the executive director and later vice president. Jack was a man highly respected in Southern California for his activity with clubs and as an active racer. His influence and his knowledge in engineering, mechanics, and administration went a long way toward building the course that NHRA would eventually take. One of the other requirements with a division director was that his wife also had to be enthusiastic and actively involved, because we knew they'd be traveling around the country, and if their wife didn't understand and wasn't enthusiastic about what they were doing, well, it would be a tough role. We used to say that it really wasn't the division director that we hired. We hired their wife, and we got them along with it, because the ladies just performed tremendous detail work for us all the way through. In some cases, I think much of the credit of progress can be given to wives of division director.
The wife I had, my wife Polly, worked hand in hand with me, type letters, go to the races, whether it was sell tickets at the gate or run the clocks in the town or whatever. She's always willing to do it. We sacrificed a lot of other things, maybe for our kids and for our own home, so we could go to the next race.
Well, I think Wally had a plan, and it's certainly the proof is right here at Raceway Park of what his long-range theories were and what he wanted to accomplish. And in effect, he had some teams strategically located across the country that involved the division director in this case and our helpmates. I don't think that I could have accomplished nearly what I've been able to do in the division or any place else with NHRA without the help of my wife, Eileen.
Barbara has been involved in the association since the day it was formed. At that time, she had just gone to work as secretary on the Hot Rod magazine staff and was told during her first week that she was there that she might have to do a little extra typing because we've just formed a new national association. But she was actively involved from day one, and ultimately, in addition to being in charge of the production of our publications and programs and printed materials for years and years, she was assigned the responsibility of directing the International Car Club Association and operated that until we transferred it to Detroit. But she's been a very vital and very active part of the organization right from the very start, and was very influential in the selection of the divisional representatives and the members of the personnel we had. Tough critic sometimes, but really played a tremendous role. It was kind of a behind-the-scenes role, and accomplished a lot of things that probably I got credit for in later years.
I don't know that was a prerequisite for the job, but everybody that came on board was married, and all the gals, you could probably write a book about what they did and the sacrifices that they made. One thing about it, they certainly raised the children. None of the guys at the time could claim any thing for how they turned out, because we were all on the road at the time. But and everybody says, you know, how is this going to ever survive? But everybody did.
But each one of them had some outstanding circumstances in their background that made them qualified for the position. Each one of them gave up something that was much more financially rewarding in order to take on the opportunity of becoming a representative in this particular sport.